Okay, so welcome to the resume and cover letter webinar. If you haven't already, please put your microphones on silent. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat box and I'll answer them towards the end of the webinar. Okay, so where do you start? Resume basics. On your resume, the content, the format, and the style is important. The content is the information you present on your resume. The format is how you organize your resume, and the style is a combination of the content and format. All three of them play off of each other. A resume can't just have a great format because a format won't communicate to the employer why you're a valuable asset to X, Y, and Z company. However, great content will not be noticed if a resume's format isn't established. When doing your resume, always think readability and relevancy if you're feeling lost. So we'll go into some frequently asked questions. And the first one is, what is a resume and what do I include? So a resume is a marketing tool, a history of your past educational and work experiences or accomplishments. So, if you do not have any relevant experience, what can you have on your resume? You can include activities, clubs, or any organizations that you have, maybe from high school or past volunteer experience. You can also include any awards earned that may be deemed relevant to your experience as well. You may not have the exact experience in the specific field you're looking for, but you can possess what we call transferable skills, such as customer service skills, leadership, and the ability to work in a team. Do I include high school experience on my resume? Yes, you can include high school experience on your resume in your early college years. However, as you become a junior and senior, you're going to want to start chipping off your high school experience because you should be gaining relevant college experience that you can start adding on your resume. This is also a case-by-case basis. Do I put courses I am currently enrolled in on my resume? Yes, as long as you're doing well in the classes and you expect to pass it at the end of the semester, only relevant courses you should add. This is not a must, but it's optional. If included, you should feel confident explaining the content of the course and the things that you have learned in the course. And lastly, do I use the same resume for every job and internship I apply to? Not necessarily. Depending on the opportunity, whether it's a job or an internship, you want to tailor your resume. Customize your skills and experiences in light of the job description. Use different keywords when you're organizing your information. And if you are going to include an objective at the top of the resume, make sure you're changing that to each position that you're going to be applying for. So next, what does a resume really do? A resume is a marketing tool. You want the employer to look at your resume and buy into you. You should only include relevant information, but keep it short and easy to read. How long do you think a recruiter or an employee spends on your resume the first time they see it? Most people would guess 60 seconds, when in reality, it's only 10 to 14 seconds. So you want to keep it short and sweet so you can get your resume noticed. You want your resume to interest the employer, that they say, wow, I want to learn more about this applicant, and they'll invite you for that interview. Next are the headings. There are 3 key headings recommended for each resume. The first is your name and your contact information. The second is your education. And the third are your experiences. So diving into contact information, there are 4 vital pieces of information. Your name, and this should be kept consistent. For example, if you have 2 last names, either use both of them all the time, or if you're just going to use one, you're going to want to remain consistent and just use the one that you use. Employers get many applications and do not want things to get mixed up and not be considered because of all the application requirements. Next is your address. You're going to want to include your most current address, somewhere where you check the mail. Also, if you're applying for a job in another city or state, maybe you have a relative who lives there and you can use their address, just so the employer knows if you're going to be local or not. And next, for phone number. If you know you're applying places and you have a musical ringback, or you just have a voicemail that's funny, you want to keep it professional. So if you're providing your cell phone number, make sure that your voicemail is set up in a professional tone and you don't have a ringback. And lastly, your email. Keep it professional. So no more of that cutie pie 1995 at Yahoo. It's acceptable to use your student email if you're currently a student. However, if you're close to graduation, you might want to start providing a more professional email, something with your first and last name included. However, always provide an email that you'll be checking quite frequently. Another thing that's optional to include in your contact information is your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that your LinkedIn profile picture is a professional headshot and not something that you took that resembles a selfie. Alongside of that note, make sure you're keeping your social media kept clean. Whether you have Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, you want to make sure your profile is kept on private, or at least that it's kept clean. So if an employer looks you up, you don't have anything that may hurt your chances of getting this dream job. So moving along to the education. Yes, if you're currently in school, you're going to want to list the degree you're working on and what the anticipated graduation date is. Let the employer know what you're currently working towards. A lot of people wonder, do I put my degree on my resume although I haven't earned it yet? So the answer is yes. And there's 4 vital pieces of information. So your degree earned or that you're working towards. You're going to want to include the institution, so that being Nova Southeastern University, the location. Now, here in our office, we always suggest that students use Fort Lauderdale rather than the Davie location if you are on this campus, because employers don't recognize Davie, right? Most people, when you say Nova, assume it's in Fort Lauderdale. And lastly, your commencement date. So if you are graduating this December, you'll put December 2017. If you're graduating in May, May 2018. And here you'll see an example of an education heading. So notice that it's in chronological order, most recent, and then your high school degree can be listed secondly. Again, the high school information is optional. So the education section is in all caps and underlined. Then we have the degree, Bachelor of Science in Biology, spelled out to the fullest, and that's in bold. Underneath is Nova Southeastern University in italics. So it's very easy to read, so the employer can pinpoint exactly what the student is working on, where they went, and what section it's under. Okay, moving on to experience. Your experiences on your resume can really be from anything. It's your choice how you want to divide up these experiences. So, if you haven't had any past professional experiences, utilize the items that you've worked on throughout your college education, right? So you can include things from clubs, Greek organizations, sports teams, volunteering opportunities. Maybe you've done some research, internships, practicums, a part-time job even. You can choose from a variety of things that you want to include. Potential headings. You can include objectives, your education, additional trainings, again, relevant courses, academic projects, scholarships and awards that you've acquired, work experience, relevant skills, any presentations that you have done, publications, leadership experience, professional affiliations, activities or interests, and again, volunteer or service experiences. Once you've decided on some headings to utilize and organize your experiences, you're going to want to have to break down and communicate to a total stranger what it was exactly you did. So anything you're adding on your resume, you want to be able to explain. And you can do this by using PAR statements. PAR statements essentially are your bullet points. PAR stands for project, action, and result. So the project is describing the task or the job. The actions was what specific role did you play in this project? Think of great action verbs. So created, developed, managed, supervised, implemented, all of those action verbs. And lastly, what was the result? The result is the outcome or the goal or the implication of the project. This is your chance to complete the story. So here you'll see an example broken down of the project, action, and result. So you're going to start with a nice action verb, right? Led. So this person led a team of 15 Key Club members in raising $1,000 for cancer research. A bunch of people tend to just have led a team of 15 Key Club members, but they forget the result. And the result is what the employer is looking for. So in raising $1,000 for cancer research. So you want to make sure you're having the whole PAR statement in your bullet points so the employer really understands what it was that you did. Okay, and you want to also focus your content on quantifying things. So whenever you can, you want to convey size and scale of projects, budgets, and results to make a stronger impression. So here we have a before, and tell me what sounds better. Tutored students in algebra, resulting in students earning improved grades? Or when you get a candidate who says, I tutored 5 students per week in algebra, resulting in students earning improved grades of A's and B's. Of course, the second one sounds better when they've quantified how many students they worked with and what letter grade these students were able to improve on. And again, avoid jargon. Think back to readability. Remember, who's going to be looking at your resume? Spell things out and do not use acronyms. Instead of NSU, spell out Nova Southeastern University. Instead of CJ major, write out criminal justice major. And again, do not abbreviate your degrees. Bachelor of Arts shouldn't say BA. Really take the time to spell it out, because the person looking at your resume may not know what CJ or BA exactly is. Moving along to smart resumes. So a smart resume is about you, not your entire work history. Again, it's a snapshot. Don't include everything on your resume. Make the employer guess and want to meet you, want to interview you. Use those action verbs to describe your experiences and skills. Make sure it's concise and easy to read, and also typo-free. Make sure it is strategic and future-oriented. And make sure it reflects the real you. You should be prepared to talk about all your experiences, so they should be true to you and the things you've accomplished and are proud of. Another tip is have people look over your resume. That's what the career advisors are here for. You can also have someone in the industry that you're applying to look it over. You can have a professor, a friend, or a mentor. Again, get all sorts of feedback to make sure that this resume really is about you. So again, I want to reiterate the focusing on the format. Reverse chronological is most widely accepted. So for the margins on your document, if your document is going a little over a page, and again, if you look down towards the end, we say rule of thumb, keep it to 1 page for undergraduates. If it's going over that 1 page mark, you can fix the margins to 0.5, but they shouldn't be no smaller than that. Font size recommended is a 12 to 10 font. And again, if you're going over that page mark, you can play around with the font size to see what better fits your document. Be consistent with your tile style, dates, and bolding. So if you're using a Times New Roman font, you're going to want to make sure that your whole document isn't Times New Roman. Be strategic, again, with the bolding of the information you want to stand out, the underlining of the section titles, and the italics of the secondary information, such as the institution you went to, Nova Southeastern. Rule of thumb, again, if you're an undergraduate, try to keep it to 1 page. However, it's case-by-case basis with everyone. And when you do your bullet points, no periods at the end, because sometimes it's not a complete sentence. However, if you do have bullet points, make sure again you're consistent and all of your bullet points have periods. Here's another example. Again, I want to point out how the heading for teaching experience is in all caps and underlined. They were an economics tutor. So they have that in bold because that's what they want the employer to really take notice to. So the strategic bolding of their position. And then where they worked is in italics. So just like your education experience, where the institution name is in italics. And then to the far right, justified, they have their dates and location. So notice the bullet points that they have. They're par statements. They begin with some nice action verbs. Tutored, collaborated, communicated. And we always say for each work experience, you want to have 3 to 5 nice par statements. So when you're focusing on the style, here are some do's and don'ts. So do create your own letterhead. Do use bolding, italics, and capitalization to emphasize what is most important on your document. Do print on one side of the sheet. And do use high-quality resume paper. Don't use more than 2 type styles. Don't overcrowd your resume with too much information. Don't use personal pronouns such as me, my, and I. And again, don't overcrowd with too much bolding, italics, and capitalization. So with this, we conclude our bit on resumes, and we're going to move on to the next professional document that goes hand in hand with your resume, and that is cover letters. So cover letters, we like to call in our office the pre-interview, essentially. Cover letters team up with your resume. And this is where you really get to show off your written communication skills. So your cover letter should include an intro, a body, and a closing. This is a way for you to showcase your skills and projects that relate to the jobs that you have listed on your resume with more detail. The primary objective of a cover letter is to show a match between the applicant and the organization. So you're going to want to do some research on anything that you're applying to, whether it's a grad school, an internship, a professional job, and read up on the mission statement, the goals, the projects, the current initiatives. Most people, believe it or not, do not submit cover letters when they're applying to these kinds of opportunities. So the cover letter will allow you to really stand out amongst other candidates. And it shows that you took the time to really write up a cover letter. It'll help you stand out. The cover letter introduction. Introduce yourself. Provide a brief overview of your background as it relates to the position. State the position you're interested in and what you're applying to. Don't wait until half of the cover letter to state the position. Do it right in the introduction so the employer is not confused. Lastly, tell them how you became aware of this opportunity. For example, if you went to the Career Expo and you spoke to someone at one of the tables, You're allowed to say that in the introduction. And that also refreshes the memory of, oh, I did meet this candidate at a career expo at Nova. Moving on to the body. Explain why you're a great candidate. What I like about cover letters is this is your time to really kind of brag about all the skills that you have, something you're not allowed to do on the resume. Elaborate on your key experiences. Give one or two detailed examples of how you have these experiences. Demonstrate why you're qualified for the position. Really connect the dots for the employer. A great tip is to read up on any current trends, initiatives, or projects they are working on, so that you could say in your cover letter, I'm aware that X, Y, and Z company is currently working on blank. And this is really why I'm excited to be here to apply for this. Paint the picture so it allows them to visualize you working for them. Really show them how you would fit into the culture. And the cover letter in closing. So, compliment them as a company or program. Thank them for the consideration and direct them to your resume. Let them know that you've attached the resume along with the cover letter. And again, include your contact info. Let them know times or dates that you're available and wanting to discuss a follow-up if they have any questions. It's okay to show professional enthusiasm. So you can say things like, I look forward to hearing from you and speaking about the many ways I may be of value to company XYZ, or further help implement the university's mission to, or you could say something along the lines of, I look forward to being your next account manager at the Miami corporate office. You can also say, please feel free to contact me at, and provide a cell number or your email address. Another thing to consider is to write a thank you letter or email. And here are some different types. So you could reach out to someone and do an informational interview. If they took the time out to answer any questions you may have, sending them a thank you for their time and participation really goes a long way. If you interviewed for an internship opportunity or you've finished completing your internship or practicum, a thank you or farewell email or letter is also a nice gesture. It'll also allow you to keep the doors open so that you're able to keep in contact with these people for future opportunities. And last, if it's a job, program, or internship interview, after the interview for up to 24 hours, you're going to want to send a post-interview thank you for their time and consideration for the position that you've interviewed for. Another thing to consider, if you have achieved something and you know you couldn't have done it without the advice or lesson you learned from someone such as a mentor, coach, career advisor, or a professor, send them a thank you letter as well. Okay, so So a critical forgotten piece in the job search, again, are the thank yous. You're wondering, why exactly thank yous? So they're designed to do one thing and one thing only. Of course, thank the person who met with you. Again, it's just showing that you're a great candidate. You're putting your name out there one last time, and it's a great perk. It'll make that person's day as well as yours. So, email versus handwritten letters. We get a lot of questions on what's the best way to reach out. Again, this is really something that depends on the company and where you've interviewed with. Sometimes emails are better because they're quicker, and a handwritten letter may not get there in time for you to be able to thank the employer, especially if they're coming to a quick decision. So you're going to want to weigh the pros and cons of email versus handwritten. While handwritten letters may seem more personal, emails, again, are quicker. Some people may also take handwritten letters already with them on the day that they have an interview. And you can always drop it off to the receptionist if there's someone who works in the front. Again, it's just thinking about a reasonable amount of time you want them to receive it in. So I'd like to thank you all for listening today. Here is some of our career development information if you'd like to schedule another appointment with a career advisor to really learn how to tailor your resume for a specific opportunity you may have coming up, or again, to really go over and dive deeper into what a cover letter should entail. Here's our website and our phone number. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat box, as I'll be here to answer them. Okay, so I got one question, and it's asking about salary requirements and including them in a cover letter. So again, the cover letter is the pre-interview, so you're not going to want to talk about salary until you are actually called in for the interview. However, salary requirement is another topic in an interview that you want to essentially avoid unless the employer straight up asks you, what is your required salary? And this is where research is going to come in. You're going to want to do that research and see what are other people making that have this position. There are a bunch of salary calculators that you could look up as well if you Google, but I would recommend staying away from saying what your salary requirements are in that cover letter, just because that's a more serious topic that will be brought up within the interview process. Another question I got was, will you be making this PowerPoint available to download? The answer is yes. I am able to see everyone who's signed in, so I will be more than happy to provide you guys with the PowerPoint. Another thing is, I don't know if you all have heard of Handshake, which is the platform we use here in career development, and you can go on and find sample resumes and cover letter resources. You could find upcoming events. You can also search for jobs and internships through our Handshake platform, and it can be found on our website, nova.edu/career. So I would suggest looking on there. There's a lot of great resources. But again, yes, I will provide you with the PowerPoint. Okay, great. Another question I got, which is a really good question, is what is the difference between a CV and a resume? So when a lot of people hear CV or resume, they think that there is a huge difference. However, essentially, they're the same thing. A CV just has way more details, and you can include so many different sections and experiences on a CV rather than a resume. Again, it just depends on the type of industry you're getting in. For example, healthcare or education. These types of industries tend to use more of a CV because in healthcare you have research, you have professional experience, you have your volunteer work. So it tends to be, a 2 to 3 page CV. Whereas business industries prefer 1 page, clean, precise, to the point types of resumes. So again, there's really not a huge difference. It just depends on the industry and the amount of experience you have. Another question we got was, can I call to schedule a one-on-one session with a career representative to review my resume and assist me with targeting a specific job market? Absolutely. That's what we're here for. So we actually do 1 hour phone and Skype appointments. If you're at one of our regional campuses, we do in person. We help you with your resume and tailoring it to that specific job. We also help with the cover letter. We also even help with interview preparation, mock interviews, any type of career-related service you may need. So yes, please feel free to call. Another question is, do you have career representatives at the Jacksonville, Florida campus, and if so, when? Unfortunately, at this moment, we do not. Hopefully, maybe that's something we can look into in the future, and that's why we're trying to really provide these webinars for those of you at other campuses. But again, you can always feel free to make a phone or Skype appointment. Sometimes we do have workshops where we'll travel up to the Jacksonville campus and provide you guys with some workshops. But at this moment, we don't have any staff located at those campuses. Okay, and I got a question. Any ideas now on digital resumes? Um, Would you care to elaborate? I haven't heard of digital resumes. So digital resumes, they mean with PowerPoint presentations and 1 minute videos. So would this be for you to include on your resume? How I'm interpreting this question is sort of kind of like a LinkedIn, I'm guessing, where you have it's similar. Okay, some places in digital sector do not look at paper resumes anymore. This is really interesting. This is the first time I hear about this, but I'm definitely going to have to do more research on that. So what I was saying was I'm envisioning something like LinkedIn where you have, all of your professional experiences and you can attach presentations or videos that you've done. Um, I definitely think maybe in the future, more and more places will move towards that. It's very interesting. Okay, so this person just shared that they are in Europe and this is the new trend. Wow, they are ahead of us. That's really interesting. Wow. I don't hate the idea. I mean, technology, digital sectors, huge thing now. Okay, well, I have time for one more question. Does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, great. It doesn't seem like there are any more questions. You guys have been really great. Again, if you need help with anything else, please feel free to call and make an appointment. We are here to assist you with your career development and have a nice day.